Hello and welcome to the Concept Checkup. The point of Concept Checkup is to dive into the Warframe forums, look for a community-made Warframe concept, and talk about it. For the purpose of Concept Checkup, I will use my custom-built evaluating method known as AS. Without further ado, let's begin the checkup. For today's checkup we have Furion, the Beast Warframe. Furion was created by D-Monster on the Warframe forums, and is a rather unique Warframe not because it's inspired by Chroma and Xenomorphs to some extent, but rather because Furion has no shields to speak of. Before you turn away, have a listen. Furion's passive, which doesn't have a name, allows Furion to regenerate 3 health per second. After not taking damage for 3 seconds, the health regeneration is bumped up to 10 health per second. Lastly, if Furion does not move and has not taken damage within the last 5 seconds, he will regenerate 10% health per second. With an armor of 750 and a high health cap of 800 at rank 30, it's obvious that Furion is meant to be played as a tank. He can certainly be very beefy, possibly even more than Chroma if you go for an armor and health build, but his abilities don't fare well against multiple enemies at once. Furion's first ability is Beast, a toggle skill that does not consume any energy, grants him 10% more movement speed, and allows Furion to move on walls and ceilings, but Furion cannot use any of his equipped weapons during Beast form and is limited to only his claws, which gain the damage of his melee weapon and are affected by his melee weapon's attack speed. Basically, Beast is your go-to ability for mobility, but you will be limited to only your claws. Beast has an augment called Infested Skin, which makes any infested within an 8-meter radius ignore Furion, unless Furion attacks them. I can see this augment being useful in rescue or sabotage with infested enemies, but besides that, it still leaves you with infested modes to worry about. Furion's second ability is Pounce. When in Beast form, Furion pounces toward a target, dealing a small amount of damage, but knocking them down. If Pounce is used on a surface such as a wall or ceiling, Furion can hang on that surface, but only in Beast form. The base damage of Pounce might look small, but we'll come back to it later. Furion's third ability is Savage Bite, which can only be used in Beast form. Furion bites the target, gaining health and making the target take bleed damage. Savage Bite is a spammable ability, allowing for quick health recovery, and Savage Bite is affected by power strength. Savage Bite has the bite mark augment, which marks the bitten target through walls, allowing Furion to track its location at all times. Honestly, I can see this being useful if you're fighting multiple tough enemies, such as the Grustreg 3, but outside of that, I don't see much point in bite mark. Furion is tanky to the point where he doesn't have to care about enemy location, so there doesn't seem to be much use of an enemy tracking mod, especially when we already have enemy radar. Anyway, Furion's fourth ability is Devour, which is also only usable in Beast form. Furion consumes the corpse of an enemy, and gains a temporary shield which does not regenerate like a normal shield. After devouring an enemy, Furion gains a stack of evolution. Furion gains a 10% health and power strength increase for every 5 stacks of evolution he has, until he reaches 15 stacks. At that point, Furion will only gain a 1% health and power increase for every 5 stacks. It's also important to note that Furion can devour faster the more evolution stacks he has, and Furion only keeps his evolution stacks for the remainder of the mission, meaning that upon starting a new mission, you will begin at 0 evolution stacks. This is what gives Furion his tankiness, as the increase in health will make him harder to kill and the increase in power strength will buff his damage and lifesteal from Savage Bite and his damage from Pounce. Devour has the evolving Carapace augment. Every 5 minutes, it increases Furion's armor by 30 and gives him a Thorn effect that reflects 10% of damage taken, up until 25 minutes. At 25 minutes, Furion will only gain a 1% armor and Thorn bonus. So Furion's kit firmly plants him in the tank role. It's easy to see him being the one to draw the fire of his enemies away from his teammates, especially if he's playing with a squishy caster such as Vauban. However, It's important to note that unlike Rhino or Valkyrie, Furion does not have any crowd control, and is mainly focused towards becoming a tougher tank by devouring enemies, and knocking down important enemies such as capture targets. Despite being a gargantuan tank, Furion does not have much to offer the team other than being the first to aggro a crowd of enemies. His abilities cater to keeping him alive and granting him tankiness, and does not help his team. I can see him carrying his team in missions that can have high-level enemies such as sorties or T4 survival, but besides that, his only worth seems to be his solo potential. Furion only looks like he'd be difficult to play at low levels, where he doesn't have his tanking abilities yet and when he only has health and armor to keep him alive. All that you'd have to focus on doing as Furion is devouring enemies to keep obtaining evolution stacks, and you'd be set. Now that I'm done talking about Furion, allow me to give my scores. Furion has a nice ass, mostly because his abilities pin him into the unstoppable beast that his theme defines him as. In addition, he really has great survival and solo potential, possibly even more than Valkyrie. However, it's his lack of team helping that sets him back a little, since his abilities are almost entirely focused on making himself stronger. For my personal thoughts, I'd say that Furion is a worthy addition to the game, with a few tweaks. I think that his pounds could be replaced, since the low damage essentially makes it so it's only used for the knockdown, kind of like how Vauban's bounce is useful in certain scenarios. Pounds could be replaced by a team buff like Warcry, for example. Regardless, that's Furion's checkup. Tune in next week where I will perform a concept checkup on Mist. Thank you for watching.